At InDigital, we know the public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI net goes beyond industry standards, not only I3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? From Titletown Publishing, and available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday. If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be episode 541 of Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Live Them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services, and a big shout-out, as always, to all of the subscribers, whether you are on Patreon, Circle, or Facebook. This is going to be a continuation of the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week that I did out in North Carolina about a week or so ago. The last episode, episode 540, you heard a live broadcast and stories out of Burke County 911. I had a few folks there with me, and this one, like I said, is going to be a continuation. I was out there in Johnston County 911. I did my 8-hour communications course. It was just a great time with all of them there. Thank you all very much once again. And this episode is going to have several stories. This is a monster episode. It is almost 2 hours long. Now, most episodes are about an hour long, maybe an hour and a half. There have been a few that were 2 hours worth, but either way, a lot of great stories in there. There's a lot of discussion going back and forth with myself and the North Carolina 911 board, and just kind of talking about what we have done for the past couple of years now with this specific week, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, where we're highlighting some 911 professionals out of the state of North Carolina, and just talking about a bunch of different topics. So without further ado, here is episode 541.
Hello, and we are back once again. This week has been phenomenal, and I started out my tour at Burke County 911, and actually, you know what? Let's get to that here in just a moment. I want to introduce my guest here because this has been so good, and It's awesome to be here with you again.
Yes.
We did a version of this last year, and I am here with Pokey Harris as well as David. They are with the North Carolina 911 board. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. And I am so sorry I could not be here in person this week. I was away in San Diego, as you know. We were kind of sort of live from there, going in and out, talking about the things we're doing here in North Carolina. But we're so glad to have you here. These folks, our telecommunicators, our heroes. There are not a lot of ways that we can acknowledge them and tell them how much we appreciate them. But if we can just bring a little bit of time to that this is their time and our shout outs to them. So hopefully we're tying this nice little gift in a bow for Telecommunicator Week. Thank you, friend, for being here. We certainly appreciate it.
Of course.
I know next week you're going to be elsewhere. So I'm glad that we could make our celebration 2 weeks. So that's what we're doing. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. It has been very special to be out here with some of the best 911 professionals in the state. And it was very powerful both times, especially for the Imagine Listening session. The amount of people who were sharing stories out loud.
Yes.
And I will say this, both times, especially yesterday when I was in here, and David, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I was first talking and explaining some of the stuff we were going to be doing, the looks on everyone's faces of this is not your regular or usual training that we were getting into, because I was like, we're going to be learning from each other, and most importantly, you are going to be learning about yourself.
Yes. And what the text messages coming back and forth to me is we need to make some more classes happen. They want you back.
Oh, that is amazing.
So Angie Turbeville, our education training coordinator, I know you're listening. So we will need to make this happen. When we can offer educational opportunities that the telecommunicators are engaged, they feel like that it's time well spent away from their job. And as you know, the staffing shortages and folks being away and not behind that headset, when they can actually add a true value to that, then we need to step back and say, hey, we need to do that again. But getting a lot of positive feedback, a lot.
Amazing. That is excellent. And for those who are watching and listening who might not know everything that you all do with the North Carolina 911 board, you're the executive director.
Yes,
so if you could, for those who are watching and listening, a little background, please.
Okay, so the North Carolina 911 board, very different from a lot of 911 operations or governance structures across the country. We have a North Carolina 911 board. Our board is responsible for the receipt of the 911 service charge across the state, and then that is distributed to the 911 centers based on a formula through our grant program, our wonderful Next Gen 911 project that we have. And I have the opportunity of sitting in front of the boat and leading a whole group of folks, a team of about 17 folks, like David serving as the regional coordinator here, that we were able to provide assistance to the 911 centers, whether it's technical support, operational support, our education and training program that we've just launched. So we have an opportunity to bring those things to the PSAPs to help them do their jobs, and to the telecommunicators and do their jobs, and to bring training like you were talking about. So in our 911 board, they are so supportive of training opportunities, the recruitment portion of what we need to do for our telecommunicators. So I get to just sign my name to all the documents. So all these folks here, they're the ones that do the work. And our awesome 911 board, our chair of the board, who you met last year, Jim Weaver, unfortunately his schedule did not work for him to be with us, and he definitely says shout out to all the telecommunicators. They are near and dear to his heart as well.
Perfect. And David, you were here with me yesterday, and a colleague of yours, and Kristen and everyone else over at Burke County. All of you have been awesome. Thank you so much for everything. But what about you, David? Your part on the board. What do you do?
So I'm the South Central Regional Coordinator for the 911 board. Our main mission is the main liaison between the 911 board and the PSAPs. So we handle anything from operations, financial, mental health support. We're big on that. So we kind of coordinate all that and get the resources that the PSAPs need from the board.
Awesome.
And Johnston County is one of the counties in his region.
Yep. So my region basically from Wake County, Raleigh, over to Cleveland County, just west of Charlotte. but Johnston County is one of my regions. Yep.
Excellent. You know, we had something happen last year that was pretty interesting, and you were just mentioning this to me. I want to make sure to put this out there.
And I hate she can't be with us today. And I'm sure as soon as I say this, my I'm going to get a text. But at the conclusion of the tour last year,
yes,
we had been back to back at all the various PSAPs that we've been doing the live broadcast. For whatever reason, as you all know, Sarah Templeton is our administrative officer. She's our handler, is what she is. She takes care of us. And she was wrapping us all up, and for whatever reason, off the cuff, I just said, "Well, Sarah will be here next year taking care of us, unless she's pregnant or something." And then her mom started texting, "Is there something I don't know?" Ricardo, guess what? Sarah's pregnant. She's gonna have a baby in July.
Yay! Congratulations,
Sarah.
Yes.
Please don't be mad at me because I announced it to the world. But yes, we were just so it's not that I don't think I talked that into being, but now we're concerned we're going to have a little Sarah running around.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the world needs more Sarah Templetons.
That is awesome
because she keeps us, on our toes. Meeting Sarah, you know that she came from a telecommunicator background, and now she does manage most of what we do. So we're very excited. And then also, I'm sure you noticed, Kristen's having a baby too. Yes.
What?
Yes. Yes. So she probably didn't say that. Now she's going to come to the door.
Right. She's gonna be looking right into the door right there. Like.
So the wonderful part about this is, Sarah will go out and have the baby, that little bundle of joy. She comes back, and then Kristen goes out to have her little bundle of joy, and then she comes back, and then Auntie P gets to have two little babies.
Auntie P, I love that. I love that.
So that's what my nieces and nephew call me. But we have a lot of excitement, and it's good in our office that we get to share things like that with our PSAP family, with our telecommunicator family, because we're a family. You've been there,
right?
You become a family.
Yes.
It's that environment that other folks just don't understand. You're a family, and when you're having babies, everybody becomes Auntie P and our Meemaw, the extended Meemaw or Nana. So we're excited about that.
Before I say what I'm going to say here, Sarah actually popped in here to the audience, and I'm putting it on the screen right now.
No.
She says, "Thank you. The team is growing."
Nice.
Yeah. I was telling everyone yesterday, and I mentioned this is Burke County as well, but it hit me more here for whatever reason. Maybe I had just a little bit more time to reflect from the time that I first mentioned it to when I was here. But I was telling folks, as you talk about family and everything, I feel a special connection to this state, because when I first started everything that I do, I was invited to my very first National NENA conference. And I always say this, I say it jokingly, but I mean this seriously as well. Up until that point, I didn't know that there was a mothership, so to speak, for National NENA. I didn't know there was a national. I thought it was all state chapters. So my very first national conference, where the podcast and everything started for me going to big conferences, was in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
I feel that connection.
So you can always come home. We're going to put this on our calendar until we can't put it on our calendar anymore. So you can come back and you can be with us. And we're so glad that you have that connection. I know that they talked about making sure that you have barbecue while you were here.
Yes.
I'm not going to get in that argument. Actually, this past week, someone asked me, which side of the barbecue are you on? And I'm like, the end of the fork. It doesn't matter,
Yes.
But some people, just like Duke and Carolina,
Mhm.
they're very serious
Yes.
about their barbecue.
Yes, very much.
So, but I hope that you got to enjoy some North Carolina barbecue while
I
you were
did,
here.
yes, and it was amazing. I had some last night. I think the place they said it was called Soda Sopa is where I went. and
Yes, here,
that-
yes.
That barbecue was excellent. A friend of mine had told me to make sure to check out Wilbur's, but
Yes.
when I finally got back to the hotel and I got ready to go get something to eat, it was going to be closed by the time I got there, because they closed at like 7.
Yeah.
But I found the other place and it was phenomenal, priced very well.
Yeah.
And when the portion came out, I said, "Is this what I ordered?" And I said, I didn't think it was going to be that much. And it was enough for like 3 people, but I did my best. I about took it down.
So, and I'm sure, and I just had this thought, I'm sure if we did a study to see how many PSAPs get get barbecue brought in. Maybe next year we do like a recipe or a barbecue.
That would be cool.
A barbecue.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Get everyone.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
the ideas are already
Yeah.
rolling.
Angie, add this to the list for Telecommunicator Week.
Yes,
next
for
week.
sure.
PSAP barbecue cook-off. Oh, and then we would go and eat barbecue.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, how can you argue with this plan?
I am all about that.
Yay,
Yes.
yay, yeah.
So really quick before we wrap up here,
Yes.
because we are we're coming up on our time and everything. We've got a good morning from and I apologize. Is it Brunswick?
Brunswick.
Okay,
Hi,
Brunswick County. And then there's another one here that I don't even want to attempt to try, but it's the first part of it is Edge.
Edgecombe.
Oh.
Edgecombe.
Edgecombe. Okay, see, I wouldn't have said that. I would have thrown the B part in there
Yeah.
because I'm from up north.
Yes, yes.
Oh, Angie just jumped in here as well. She goes, I am always up for good barbecue.
Yep. So
Perfect.
very
So
good.
as we wrap up this piece,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for everything, for
Thank
this
you.
partnership. It has been amazing.
Yes.
And for the both of you, some closing remarks here on just how important National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week is, but not just the week, but every single day.
Every single day. Yeah. We focus on this week, and I guess now we've turned it into 2 weeks here just to give attention to those true heroes. But it's every day. It's 24/7,
Yes.
365. If the general public really knew what these folks do, and everybody here hears me tell this all the time about from the cats in the trees to the 2-year-old in the pool. They are the first responders. There's no way around it. And these folks are there. They start the system. They start that cycle of response, that cycle of life care. They start it. They cannot be removed from that. They are as critical as anyone else, probably the most critical. And now in North Carolina, where of course it's required for the EMD that we have all of our folks are trained, that they can begin those instructions even before wheels start turning out of bay doors. So that makes a difference for our citizens. And we're 3,000 plus strong of telecommunicators here in North Carolina, and each and every one of them, they're heroes to us.
Amazing.
And they're heroes to the community. They just don't know that.
Of course. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you both for being on.
friend.
Thank you. This is awesome. And we've got a couple more folks that are going to be coming in. Actually, we've got several folks that are
Yes.
going to be coming in. So we're going to go ahead and switch this up here.
Wonderful.
All right. So if you can scoot this way just a little more.
Sure.
And then Rick, yes, if you can scoot in here just a little more as well. All right, just so that I've got you at least sitting in the middle of the microphone so they can still pick up your audio and such. All right, so we continue on here for, once again, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week 2024 here in Johnston County, 911, North Carolina. And to my right is Brett Renfro. Is that right?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
Very
Just
good.
want to make sure I'm getting everyone's names right. I don't want to butcher it. And he is the 911 director. And to his right is Rick Hester and the Johnston County manager. So hello, both of you. How are you doing today?
Great. Hope you are. Thank you.
Yes, it has been excellent. We were talking earlier before we went live and everything about just kind of the weather and then just eating barbecue and stuff. And, I love North Carolina. This is just a great state.
North Carolina
And-
State.
Yeah, it's been excellent here, and also being here with all the folks, all these 911 professionals and everything they're doing. Before we get into talking about this amazing building that you have here, I'm just in awe of it. Really, I want to know, what does National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week mean to you?
For me, I sat the chair. I'm going on my 31st year, and I sat the chair from early on in my career as a green telecommunicator, and went through all the various positions. But for me, it's about our people.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are our biggest resource. If we don't take care of our people, then they can't perform. They can't do their jobs. And it's about looking after them, and it's about thanking them properly for what they've done and what they do every day, because they see the fire truck when it pulls up, they see the police car when it pulls up, they see the ambulance pull up, because everybody has their part to do. It's just that the telecommunicator is behind the scenes. They're not seen, but they're always heard.
Right.
And for me, it's about honoring our people and thanking them properly.
That's amazing. I love that, and just that mentality as well, because as the both of you throughout the entire country, everyone is so short-staffed. And I've been asking a few people, what do you think is, part of that issue? And why is it that people are not staying? Is it because of that environment? Is it because maybe some places there's a little more toxicity and people don't want to be in a spot like that? I mean, what do you think some of those issues are? And Mr. Hester as well, your thought process on that. This is not just 911. There's a lot of places, but specifically as we're here, why do you think people don't stay? And how do we get people to stay?
Well, I am a very fortunate 911 director for Johnston County in the fact that we are fully staffed.
That is amazing.
That's a culmination of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
One is support from my manager, Mr. Rick Hester here, and our board of commissioners. One of their 6 priorities, and our main priorities that our county has is county employees, and they support us. That there's, I guess technically there is an ends, but I would say to no end, they support their employees. They look after us. They take care of us. They listen to what we have to say, and they look at our needs, and they try to fulfill those needs as best they can. And I just think it's back to how you treat your people. Everybody needs a paycheck because you have obligations. You got to have a place to live. You got to have food to eat. You got to have a car to get around or transportation. But it's not always about those things. It's a lot of times for a lot of people, it's about being appreciated.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah,
I agree. And I as Brett said, Board of County Commissioners, they are, and also public safety is a priority. And so when you tie those in together, I mean it, and Brett is a great leader. And so we've got great leadership, and he's got a great team there here. And I think our culture is another big important piece of it. It's a great place to work. And as Brett said, I mean, what's more important than public safety?
Mm-hmm.
And and then to have this facility, and because it's a tough job what they're doing, telecommunicators to deal with, y'all know better than me, some very difficult situations. And I think we're positioned well here in Johnston County. Got great employees, a great place to work, safe place to work, and strong support from the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
And with that combination, it's a winning formula.
I fully agree. Definitely a win-win for everyone involved. And it was funny. The one table in the end, your group that was there. There was a couple times when I was joking with them, and they said, "We're the rambunctious crowd over here," and I was like, "I can tell that you love what you do, and that you're in a good environment." And it was just, I just feel it from them. It was that vibe.
Well, one of your comments yesterday in the class was, and a topic that you spoke about was, not eating our young.
Mm-hmm.
When we have new employees come in that are not as experienced as a veteran person, that's one of the things that we stand on. You can treat a person badly and they won't stay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you treat them well and you encourage them and you lift them up, they will always do more. They'll always be willing to help. They'll always be willing to participate and go beyond what is honestly what's expected of them. And that's our mentality here. And that's the kind of support that I have as a director from my leadership. And I've had a good leader. I've had former directors that were absolutely wonderful leaders in my career,
mm-hmm.
to lead me and mentor me. And I just followed through with, what I've learned and what I've been taught, and, things that have happened. So I think looking after your people and taking care of it, and it just shows the county's commitment. We're in a new facility. We were in a facility that was turned into a 911 center because we didn't have space. We didn't have anywhere else to go. And this facility was built to be a 911 center. And it just shows the commitment that we have to taking care of public safety, looking after our employees, along with all the other things that our county has openly committed to.
Just the way that you're saying it, just from everyone, it's a complete buy-in. Everyone is in it for the right purposes, for that win. The ultimate goal, just for everyone to be happy and in a good environment where you want to stay, and also those that are out in the field can feel that as well, and especially those in the community. Now, unbeknownst to me, I was eating at the Soda Sopa barbecue joint last night, and I just happened to be by the. You said it was a courthouse, right?
Yes,
It was where the
yes.
old dispatch center was. It was down in the basement, but now we are in this state-of-the-art building. Please tell me about this, because me telling you, and even a few pictures, it doesn't do it justice. Like, you have to see this, and it is just amazing. Please.
It's a 53,000 square foot building. It's all of public safety response is all in one location now, from 911 where it starts all the way to our county EMS system, our county fire marshals that look after the fire side. Each of the fire departments, the 23 fire departments in the county, are separate entities, but we work together. It's a huge team is what I would call it. It's just a huge team. And then, of course, we dispatch for the local municipalities, for the police departments, and the sheriff's department is all here. The Johnston County Detention Center is here. And it's a big project. And now we're all in one spot. We're all together because that's the part that we look after. That's the part that we do. And everybody's here. I don't have to go across the county. I don't have to do a video call. I can walk to my emergency services director, Kevin Hubbard's office, and say, look, here's something I think we need to work on, because he's only 60 steps down the hallway in the same building that I'm in now. If I need to see the sheriff on an issue, he's downstairs. I take an elevator ride or a short walk down the steps, and I can be there where the sheriff is, and I can have that talk. And we do those things very well, because that's one of the things that we talk about at the department head meetings. Mm-hmm. Our county works. I mean, it's scary how they all work together. Nobody has what I call the sandbox mentality. We all work together. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a part.
Yeah. And we're just outside of the Emergency Operations Center here doing this podcast. And, when we've had weather events and hurricanes and issues with maybe one time we had that issue on 95 with the truck and chemicals and stuff.
Yes.
But anyway, the Emergency Operations Center provides the space that's needed in the breakout rooms, also for those types of situations. We hope we don't have any to deal with.
Right. Yes.
We've got a good situation there in terms of if it ever happens. And so, but anyway, I agree with what Brett said. We've got great, and across the board in Johnston County with about 25 agencies, all the departments work together well. There are no fences between agencies, and it's especially true with public safety here, because Brett, Kevin Hubbard, Sheriff Bizzle, and everybody, everybody's here for the same reason, and that's to take care of people in Johnston County. Quite frankly, taking care of people that are not from Johnston County. There's so many people traveling through, staying, if something happens on 95 or 40. So there's a lot of responsibility there, and we're just fortunate, and I'm blessed every day to work with people like Brett Renfro, who are professionals and dedicated, and were involved in the construction of this facility. The sheriff and Kevin and Brett involved in the construction of this facility from start to finish, on top of the regular job they were doing to make this what it is.
How important?
I'll give you your money for that comment after.
Okay, please. It's going to cost you.
Right. We'll get some barbecue.
Yeah.
How important was it for all of you coming together when you first started this out to make sure that everyone was together and just continue to build this? I mean, just a continued camaraderie and, brotherhood, sisterhood between all of you to come together.
Well, I'll just tell you, initially, and we're just steps away from the detention center, which is a brand new facility as well, same campus. So Initially, that project was bid out, and at the time, it was prior to things going so crazy with cost. Prior to COVID, I think it was, Brett.
It was.
And so we hit it just right with the bidding cycle there. And so we're like, well, why don't we go ahead and just do this public safety center too? It was sort of a phase 2 anyway. But we didn't know
$12 million.
Yeah, we didn't know when phase 2 was going to take place, but we said, let's go ahead and do it. The commissioners were all on board with it, and it turned out to be a great thing to go ahead and get that done, especially not long thereafter. Construction costs and everything just went through the roof, and so we hit it just right. But as far as having to come together and say, hey, how are we going to work together? We didn't even really have to have that conversation because they already do it.
That's
they
amazing.
Already work together. And we had so many people and Brett helped me with this, but we had our director of buildings and grounds, Daniel Clifton, heavily involved in these facilities. Jeff Howard, his team with tech services. Jimmy Boykin, who came on as an independent sort of a guide for us, and a wonderful man at other agencies. It took so many agencies to make it all work. Building inspections, that's right.
Do those things.
But finance, that's a big part.
Absolutely.
And but anyway, we didn't have to have a meeting about how we're going to work together because it's just what we do.
Our 911 board. A lot of the equipment that came into my new center was through grants that I was able to, or our department was able to work through. We received almost a $2 million grant from our North Carolina 911 board through the grant process. So opportunities there are good for that.
I am jealous because, there's a lot of places, or, just thinking back sometimes, it took a little bit for where I was working before to kind of come together. Like, we were working together, but it wasn't like together.
Right.
And so what we ended up doing is we would have, let's just say, for example, the sheriff's department, if they had a new deputy coming on, we would have them come in, sit along with us for a little bit. Or of course, we were, as dispatch, part of our training, we were doing ride along so we could see what it was like. Well, then we started doing even more of that, and then doing team building to the point where we would have other agencies come in for, dinners or anything like that. And then we're all learning from each other. We understand what it's like for them. They understand what it's like for us. And now we're even more so together. And the culture has completely changed in a lot of different places, especially where I was at before. But it took a lot of us in dispatch just really pushing for all of this to say, this is how we're going to come together, simply by learning from each other.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So this has been awesome to have the both of you on to hear more about the facilities and everything. For those who, and you said that you're good to go, but if you had any other opportunities for someone to join your team, and someone is thinking about getting into public safety or 911 specifically, what would you tell them?
In the 911 world, honestly, in today's 911 world, do your research, find out what you want to do, because there's a poster in our industry. You've probably seen it. There's a giant iceberg in the water.
Yes.
You see the tip of the iceberg that sticks out of the water, and that's what the public's reaction is, or what their expectation or what their thought process is. But there's just so much more to it, because you don't see the big part of the iceberg under the water. So all those things, the perception, there's more to 911. It's super, super important. And it's one of those jobs you've got to give your all. You've got to give 100% every time you step to that mic or to that console. And that's what I'm blessed to have, is a crew of people that are willing to do that.
Awesome. And just one last question for the both of you as we kind of wrap up this portion of the segment here for this live broadcast. What does National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week mean to you? Not just next week when we celebrate the actual week, but every day that, these folks are working and doing everything that they do.
I'll say things that, and we've heard this in other areas, I don't want to, while I'm thankful for National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, because that's one that we set aside.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think it has to be the other 51 weeks of the year have to be National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, because you need to make sure those people understand that they're just as important in those other 51 weeks as they are in that 1 week that you do it as a national event. That's great. It's a wonderful thing. But I think you have to make sure that those people understand they're just as important on January 1st as they are on December 1st.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And you, sir, Mr. Hester.
I agree. It was the same thought I had, that we need to make sure that what they do is celebrated year round. And I think about it often with local, especially with county government, where so many different operations are 724, 365. And public safety is that. No matter what day of the week it is, no matter what holiday it is, what time of the day or night it is, there are folks there that are ready there. They're trained and ready to help you, because that's where the first emergency, as y'all know better than I do, that's where it all starts, is with that 911 call.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you both. This has been amazing, and you've got a great facility, and I just love the way, your mindset, the both of you, it's the buy-in from everyone. And I can just, again, I can feel it when I come in here, and the vibe is just a good one. Thank you for the hospitality. It has just been amazing. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well. I also, really quick, I'll say, I found out that Mr. Hester was also in broadcasting at a time, right?
That's right.
I can hear it in your voice. That is awesome.
My family grew up in the radio business. So when I was 14 and 15 years old, on the holidays, my dad would want the employees to be with their families.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd send me up there, and I'd play the records, and it was cool.
That's awesome right there. That is excellent. That is great.
And sports broadcast.
Yeah, did some of that too. Yeah.
That is, I can hear it in your voice, just in my headphones. It's like, I would have loved to have listened to you while you were on there. That's awesome.
Good. He's very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for being here and for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to be jumping in. I think they're going to be sending in a couple other people here, and we'll see who they send us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chief Greg Tart. He is one of our police chiefs here in our county. Again, we work super well together with him and his staff. He's the town of Clayton police chief, and Clayton is the fastest growing town in North Carolina. Is that correct? Am I right in that? Or
It's one of the fastest growing. It's the fastest growing town in this county, which is the fastest growing county in the state.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know where we rank as far as fastest growing in the whole state, but I think the last numbers I saw, we were probably in the top 10.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, it is very it's great to meet you and to have you here. And can we get a little background, on how did you start out in public safety?
I started my career in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I was a special agent with the State Bureau of Investigation, where I retired in January of 2018 after 30 years. I retired as a deputy director, and worked part-time with the sheriff down here. And I got one of those midnight phone calls that said, "Hey, we need a police chief. Were you interested?" And I'd been out. I wasn't really sure I wanted to go back full time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do some soul searching to get my mind right. I agreed to do it on an interim basis. And after 3 months, I'm still here. So it's been about 3.5 years. I wasn't smart enough to stay retired, I guess.
Well, is it one of those things where, a lot of people say that when you get into public safety, even if you've never been in it before, it kind of gets into your blood right away, and you're just, you're in it.
I mean, it's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a job. I think anybody who's in this business for any amount of time will tell you the same thing: is you either have it or you don't. And in today's world, I mean, times have obviously changed. I've started my 36th year in law enforcement, and times have obviously changed. And the commitment that you get nowadays from folks is not what it used to be.
Right.
You rarely see, new hires stay at one department their entire career, kind of like I did. That's just kind of rare nowadays. But I think if you stay in it for any amount of time, then, your heart's in it, which it has to be able to do it. And so, yeah, it's a calling. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I got to love that, because I'm a firm believer that there are certain points in our career, whether it be early on or, well, a lot of times early on, where something happens where you feel it. It's that moment where that you're where you're supposed to be. And so, for example, for me, it was a couple domestic calls that I had taken, and I thought, I'm in the right place. This is what I was meant to do, and I stayed with it. When I left dispatch, that is when I retired out. I mean, I was doing dispatch for 13 years, but I ended up leaving to continue doing basically what it is that I do now, and it's helping 911 professionals share their stories, to get some of those harder calls out as more of a mental health and wellness type thing.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of folks, it's the same way. Maybe you even had a moment where you thought, you know what, I know that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I was a homicide investigator for over 20 years.
Mhm.
I've been all over the state and worked some of the largest and the most tragic homicides that you can imagine. And for me, early on in my career, being able to solve a murder was when I knew I was in the right where I needed to be.
Mhm.
And I've never lost that. Even today, if we're unfortunate enough to have one in our town, and I'm right out there with them, because I have so many young folks now, and I don't want to be that mother hen type where I'm standing over them telling them what to do, but sometimes I
Right.
have to do that.
Yes.
And that's just, it's in my heart. And, I want them to learn the right way. And, if I see them about to make a mistake or do something, I may suggest, hey, you may want to try this or try that. And so, yeah, I mean, I knew early on in my career, I always thought when I graduated high school and went to college, I'd be a coach
Mhm.
and a teacher. That's kind of what I had in my brain. I don't know when I did the 180 and went in this line of work, what day that was.
Right.
But it was probably never my intent to do it. But when I got in, I realized early on, yeah, I'm where I need to be.
He was hooked.
Yeah. I
He was
mean,
hooked.
and you ended up doing basically what you wanted to do to begin with, in a way, with the mentorship and everyone, the teaching and everything, your wealth of knowledge. I can just imagine, as you said, you still go out there with them, and that has to throw a lot of respect from them to you as well, to say, he's here with us and he understands, he's been there, and he's teaching us and dropping that knowledge that just really builds that trust and rapport and camaraderie. So I salute you and all of you who continue doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, we were just talking before I came in here, and Johnston County is my home. I grew up here in the Clayton, Cleveland area. And I've seen this county change just from the law enforcement side. We were just talking before I came in here about, the sheriff's office. And I can remember there was one, maybe two at the most, dispatchers for this entire county.
Yes.
And they were crammed in a room, probably not much bigger than this room.
Oh, no way.
It was.
And when they built the annex on the courthouse, was where they moved from to here, they thought they had the Taj Mahal, and it was just
Right.
a short period of time they had outgrown that. So coming out here, I took a tour out here last week, and I was amazed, and it was well needed, obviously, but the growth, and it's going to continue. It's like our department. We're up to 64 sworn officers, and when I went to work there, we had about 45.
Wow.
And so, the town has supported me in asking for new folks, but we have to, because we were behind. And it's the same way with the county. I mean, I won't say we can't keep up with growth, but I don't know that we'll ever get ahead of it. But we have to work to stay at least steady with it, because it's not going to stop.
Now, do you feel like it's just basically because of the times? The time has changed. There's a lot of people coming in, as you said, that the town's growing and everything else. So you have to kind of plan for that in a way, to have more people. Is that basically, you feel like it's just because it's just growing more and just sign of the times?
I think in a leadership role, other than the day-to-day stuff that goes on, you have to plan for the future.
Right. Yeah.
You have to be able to look ahead and say, this is coming. we need to start preparing for it now rather than it get here and then start trying to catch up to it. That's when you get in trouble sometimes. And, you know, this building here and that jail, and like I said, I've been all over the state and probably every county there is. And, you know, seeing where they came from to where they are now is remarkable to me, but it's much needed.
Right.
Because it's only going to keep getting bigger. And there'll be a point in time, I don't know that we'll be around to see it, they'll outgrow this.
Right.
You know, now they got room to add on to it if they need to.
Yeah.
There will be a time.
I'll help you. Don't worry.
Yeah, maybe a wheelchair ramp.
So
we're gonna be here, bro. We're gonna be here, Chief. I hope
It's-
so.
I love that thought process of the big picture, right? I mean, it's like anything, you know, for you know, big disasters or whichever, you know, a lot of places run drills, you're running all this preparedness, and it's basically, like you said, you're planning for the future because anything can happen.
Yeah.
So you've got all of this is going on. And just to touch on really quick, you know, just kind of the technology. You've been in public safety for a long time, and so here's the question, and the both of you really, how has the technology changed from around the time you started to now?
Wow. It's when I first started, we were on punch cards.
You're probably like the third person that I've met who has told me about punch cards. Yes.
We had it looked like a time. It basically was a time clock, and they were color coded, so you hand wrote everything on there. And now we have computer systems that, you know, we never at that point in time we never even dreamed of.
Yeah.
And now I can send everything to him, you know, through our CAD system, through MCTs, through Freedom apps, to his phone, to devices in the car. His officers, they can do their reports in the car. They can submit them through a Wi-Fi connection. There is no more sitting down handwriting reports. It's
Right.
all it's unbelievable. You know, and now with AVL, you know, being able to see where the officers are, or the fire trucks, or the ambulances, or the sheriff's deputies, those things have all changed. That's what we see from our end. Everything is much simpler. Our state, as a state, Next Gen 911, we just brought on our final county out of 100 counties in the last month to complete our Next Gen project that the 911 board was doing. So every PSAP that falls under that umbrella is protected. So we're all one, and I'll let the chief speak to the things that he sees.
I certainly would agree, and I can remember the days before CAD and RMS and systems like that.
Yes.
And I'm not I'm kind of old school, so I have to learn this stuff.
Yeah,
That's all right.
These young folks, man, they blow my mind at stuff that even my own kids. But the safety side of it, which is, you know, obviously the most critical component, by bringing in technology like he just mentioned, has increased the chances of keeping an officer safe, or a firefighter safe, or an EMT safe, or just the general public. You know, if there's a bad wreck somewhere, and it's mind-boggling because technology changes by the day. In fact, you know, one of the things I have done in the tenure I've been at Clayton is, you know, we no longer buy anything electronic. We lease it, and we lease it for a period of time because technology changes so fast.
Right. Yes.
So when that lease is up, we get the next latest and greatest. Or if we buy it, then we've got it, and then when it's outdated, then we got to sell it and buy something else. And you know, a lot of departments have started to do that. But when I went into the 911 center last week, I was amazed. I mean, you know, of all the technology that's in there, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what any of it means.
He's a little modest. He's a smart guy.
But I guess the plus side of it all is it's much needed, and it creates, you know, an extra feeling of safety and security for
Right.
not only his folks, but our folks out here. And and that's just the world we live in. Technology robs us all. If we lost cell phones tomorrow, this country wouldn't know what to do. And just think back, it's only been a few years since
Right.
we had.
Yeah.
But look at,
Right.
the days of landlines in houses, they don't exist anymore. And that used to be the norm,
About 80% of our 911 calls are from a cellular device now. So it's, that's.
I think it's interesting for everyone. All of us. When I started in public safety, it was 2001. But even then, during that time, even going up to about 2006, when I was working at the Central Dispatch in Southwest Michigan, I still have a training folder. And when I was there and I was training someone new, I remember pulling something out and it kept unfolding, and the person goes, "What is that?" And I said, "That's a teletype." And they said, "What is a teletype?" I said, "Well, let me tell you." And
dot matrix printer.
yes, the dot matrix printer. Yes, you got that ring.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, that. And then just trying to tell my kids even how some of that stuff was. I've told my older kids, not my younger kids, of course, but my older children. I told them, there were times where we couldn't locate someone. Someone would be calling on a cell phone that didn't have any service, but they could call 911, right? And if I lost the call and a carrier couldn't find them, I'm left.
Right.
And my mental health and wellness is, taking some impact on that, because now I go home wondering whatever happened to that person. But now technology is better, where you've got software, different companies and everything, where you can actually almost pinpoint where someone is.
Yes.
And I feel like that alone, as you were saying as well, sir, that a lot of the technology, it makes you feel a little more safe and secure, because you can find your folks, whether it's them out in the field or for your folks, for callers that are calling in, you can find them a lot faster and a lot easier, and it helps to ease the mind in general.
We want to help the caller, but playing up what the chief was talking about, our goal at the end of the day is to make sure all his guys and ladies get to go home.
Right.
It's a safety issue, and a lot of the technology, as he said, has changed a lot of those things over time, and it will only get better.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of changes out there now that probably weren't even available a year ago, 12 months ago. And it's one of those things, and it was interesting when he was talking about the lease. I've heard that before in recent time. You start down that road, it makes really good sense, because,
right,
hardware changes,
It does.
and it changes so fast. The first computer I saw was huge, and now a cell phone can do 1,000 times what that computer could do,
Well, when I got into law enforcement, I had a digital pager.
Yes.
That's all I had.
Oh.
And I had to find a phone booth to make a phone call, because we
Yep.
didn't have cell phones. And it was just
and in a
type of
hurry.
number in, and we'd get these codes like a 1 meant right now, or 2,
Yeah.
as soon as you
It's
can.
priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Right.
priority for
And
it.
then we
It was
went to
like,
the pager system where they had the little keyboard, so you could send a message on it. And then we finally got bag phones back in the day, which you had to set them on top of the car to be able to, depending on where you're at, to get some reception.
Yeah.
Oh.
These folks nowadays, these younger folks, they have no clue about this stuff.
That's right.
They really don't. And it reminds me of a story when my youngest daughter was younger. She was in probably middle school at the time. And we went on a field trip, and I don't remember where it was, but they had a rotary phone display.
Yes. Yes.
And those kids had no idea what that was. The old
Right.
rotary.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They couldn't have made a phone call to save their life.
They had no clue what that was.
Oh, wow.
And that really makes you kind of feel old.
Right.
But when you think about it,
Or manual
really had-
transmission in a car.
right, it really hadn't been that long ago when you really think about it.
Yeah.
It's just, like you said, technology changes faster than we can keep up with it.
Right.
What is the latest and greatest today won't be a month from now or 2 months from now.
Something else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And just to your point there as well, I was telling a story yesterday during the training, and I was telling them that there's some things in our I'm a firm believer that maybe some phone calls or whichever incidents that you go on, they're meant for you. to go to. And the reason I say that is because maybe there's something in your past, some past experience that you might be able to use with wherever you're going, or let's say a phone call that someone is taking, that you would be able to help that person better than someone else because you've had that experience. Not that the other person wouldn't be able to do a good job, they would do great, but because you have that experience, you're able to do it a bit better or have that deeper connection. So with that said, I was training someone, and it was a domestic call, and when they hung up the phone, there was a pulse sound, and I was listening, and my trainee was about to hang up to call back, and I said, "Don't hang up." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Just don't hang up. They're gonna pick up the phone. They're gonna try to call again." And sure enough, they did. They picked up, and you can hear the person trying to dial again. And she looks at me, and I could see it in her face, like, "How did you know this?" So we go through the call, and we finish the call, and she goes, "How did you know that was going to happen?" And I said, "Well, one, it's because I'm old, okay? But two, it's because I used to," and this is the experience that I'm getting at here. As a kid, we used to play on the phone sometimes. And because it was a pulse, because it was a rotary dial, if one line is open, that line is still open.
Correct.
Nobody else can call. So I was
really
telling
good.
her about
Right.
this. So it was that experience that I had that was able to help at that moment. Yeah.
It's amazing with technology. And again, I am not a technology guy, but
Mhm.
I've had to learn,
Right.
you know, and knowing, and even just from the technology side, just knowing what to buy. Okay. We went to body cameras when I first came to the police department, which we were the first department in the county that had them. And a lot of folks, there was a little bit of pushback on it from our folks. And now they have saved so many people as far as complaints and things like that.
So it has been excellent to have both of you on here, but also to learn more about the bag phones and everything too, because I've heard about them. I didn't realize that you had to put them on top of the vehicle or anything, but that is very interesting.
They had these little rubber antennas, and when you were in a certain area, you got no reception. So you'd have
Right.
to stop on the side of the road, set it on top of the car to try to get some better reception. And that was my first cell phone.
I'll
never forget it.
I can just imagine, you or anybody else pulling over and somebody passing by, and you're just kind of looking at them like, yeah, I got to do this.
Oh,
So
It's like phone booths when we had digital pagers. I mean, you probably can't find a phone booth anymore, but they used to be everywhere.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the way we called. We'd stop and go find a phone booth and call whoever was paging us.
Yeah, exactly. Or something that my friends and I would do sometimes if we had to call someone, you go to, I think it was you call collect,
Yeah.
but when it says, say your name, you would
Right.
say everything you had to say right away.
Absolutely.
just a way to get around it a little bit. It has been awesome, sir, to have you
Sure.
on here, the both of you, and just to hear just everything, a little bit of background about yourself as well. So as we go into the wrap up of this segment here, we think about the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and your time working with dispatch as well. How vital is the piece of 911 dispatch to everything that you and your crew do?
Well, it's obviously number one, a partnership.
Mhm.
We can't do it without them, and nor do I want to do it without them. And a lot of times when we get dispatched to a call, we don't know what we're walking into or driving into, whatever it may be. So we rely on the dispatcher or the telecommunicator to get as much information as they can from the caller or caller. Sometimes it's multiple callers calling.
Mhm.
And that information that gets translated from a telecommunicator to our officers responding could be a matter of life and death sometimes.
Right.
And I've had the unfortunate experience of having to investigate the murders of many law enforcement officers in this state, including 2 in this county.
Mhm.
And I think any telecommunicator who's working that day when something like that happens, and I think back to 9/11 and when all that stuff was going on that day, it's a lasting effect. It don't go away. And some telecommunicators can handle it. Some get out of the business, just as police officers and firefighters and paramedics, whoever it may be. That one situation or that one case may dictate to them, like you asked me earlier, am I in the right business? And some of them realize they're not. They can't handle it. And the other part of, the telecommunicator piece for me is not just the information they get to provide to us, but they're also, when you're at a domestic or you're at some major incident and there's many different things going on at one time, you often have to rely on them to get you additional personnel help to get messages out to another county, another state. Hey, can you check on this? Can you check on that? And it's all part of the investigation side of things, which I spent a large part of my career doing, is getting help from telecommunicators to other agencies, to other jurisdictions to help us on that one specific case. And even now, I mean, it could be something, and I say it's simple because it's never really simple, but, if we have a wreck where a utility pole gets knocked down, then we rely on them to contact because like in our town, we have Town of Clayton utilities, and then we have Duke Energy and DOT, and we often struggle sometimes figuring out whose is whose, which road it is. It's, does DOT maintain this road, or is the Town of Clayton? Which electrical pole is maintained? Is it Duke Energy or is it the Town of Clayton? And they are a big part of that. And the other part, just from the CAD side of things and the mapping, like our town is very spread out. It's not in one nice little box. And, as the town continues to grow, we continue to annex property. So we don't always know when we get dispatched, and we rely on them to tell us, hey, it's yours or it's not yours, meaning it's somebody else's jurisdiction. And it's hard because there's pieces of, like Clayton, for example, that you look at the map and it's all the Town of Clayton, and there might be one little blurb there that's in the county. And I always tell our folks to respond anyway,
right?
Because everything around us, the town, and especially if it's an officer safety thing, but we rely on them quite a bit to decipher some of that, talking about your folks, whose is this?
Yeah.
Because we can't always tell. And you know how difficult it is.
Fortunately, we have a great GIS department.
Well, that's what we were talking
and
about.
that works good with Clayton's GIS department. And they upload their data to us, and then we upload it to our GIS department. They work very well together.
Yeah,
it's back to that camaraderie and ability to get things done. We don't worry about he said, it doesn't make a difference. The people don't care about that line on the map. They
want your help.
They want
right,
your
exactly.
help.
Yeah.
They don't care. And that's, if everybody gets there and they decide, this is Chief Tart's jurisdiction, then Chief Tart handles it. If he gets there and it's a deputy sheriff's position, then the deputy handles it and the chief.
Yeah.
We service the people.
We don't, at least, I try to instill them in my folks. Don't worry about jurisdictional lines. If you get called, go. We'll figure that part out later if we need to. But you just, somebody needs your help, you go respond, and we'll figure out the rest of it. But it's just it's a partnership that is a critical partnership.
Yes. And,
we rely on Brett's folks and the folks down here daily and multiple times a day. And one thing I tell my folks, and I'm sure he, has the same conversation, is, our patrol folks work 12 hours, and you got to be as alert and ready to go in hour 11 as you do in hour 1. It's the same thing with a telecommunicator, because it may be the biggest call of your career that comes in hour 11. Right. And you got to be able to handle it. And, your body tends to shut down over time, and especially on night shifts, and the fatigue factor starts building, but you can't get complacent, because complacency, is what gets us in trouble sometimes. And it's tough. People don't realize, sitting in a 911 center for, you guys work 12 hours.
12 hours shift.
Hour 10 and hour 11. I mean, you may have had a quiet night, but mentally, the fatigue starts setting in. It's just, it's nature. It's just the way bodies.
Nature of the beast. Yes.
You still got to be able to go if that call comes in, and it's difficult especially with younger people. Now, your older folks, I mean, Brett's got a few folks that's been here a while, at least as long as I remember, but you rely on those folks to help these, kind of like you were saying early when you were doing it, mentoring these younger folks to get that instilled in them. So, when that call does come in, they're prepared to handle it. And we cannot do our job without them. That's just the bottom line. And like I said, nor do I want to do it without them, because it is the safety side of it. You can't put, there's no way to measure that. There's no way to measure how many times the information that his folks relayed to us before we got there saved somebody's life. There's just no way to measure that. And it's like I tell my folks, visibility and proactivity, there's no way to measure how much crime you can prevent by doing that. That's correct. There's just no way to do it. So
awesome. Well, thank you.
That's how I would define it, our relationship and what they do for us.
Well, that's perfect, sir. Thank you so very much. Everybody watching and listening, the Chief of Police here, Mr. Greg Tart, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Appreciate having you on. I didn't stand up when you had first gotten in here. I've got wires all around me. I'm going to stand up now. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Welcome. Today we are here, and this is day 4 of everything that we've been doing this week. So my name is Ricardo Martinez, and I've got this, we've got a platform here called Within the Trenches podcast, where I have dispatchers come on and share their stories. And this is the second year in a row that I have partnered with the North Carolina 911 board to kind of highlight everything that 911 dispatchers do, not so much what they do, but why they do it and how important they are. And it's a pleasure to have the both of you here and to meet you, and just to kind of hear, from your opinion, how vital 911 dispatchers are. But if we could, for the audience and everything who's watching here live and around the world, a little background on yourselves, please.
Steve Bizzle. I'm the sheriff here in Johnston County. I'm on my 7th full-year term as sheriff. I served in Johnston County under 2 former sheriffs. I was a reserve deputy, a deputy sheriff, elected sheriff in 1998, and I am one of 2 of the longest serving current sheriffs serving in the state of North Carolina. Love working with our 911 director, our emergency services director, the county manager. We're all are a team, and we're blessed that the county commissioners in our county understand the importance, and they actually know that public safety is the #1 priority of government. Without the public safety, the schools, water lines, sewer lines, and everything else is just secondary. Public safety is the #1 priority of government. And that's from the White House to the State House to the courthouse. So, but we're lucky in Johnston County. Everybody works good together to provide that public safety.
Excellent. So I have to ask really quick, though, how did you get into public safety to begin with? Do you come from a family of public safety, or it was just kind of something that you grew up with that you wanted to get into?
I'm just an old farm boy. My dad was a minister. My dad's brother ran for sheriff in the late 50s. And my brother applied with the highway patrol and was accepted, but decided not to go. So law enforcement, law and order has always been a part of our family. It's who we are. And as a young boy, I used to hear about when my dad's brother ran for sheriff, and I thought, I'm gonna do that one day. So I never lost that vision. So I ran for sheriff in 1998, and it's not about politics, it's about people. But I was the first Republican sheriff elected in Johnston County in 70 years. And ironically, my daddy's daddy, worked for the last Republican sheriff in 1928 as a deputy sheriff.
Oh, so there's that connection and almost a full circle there as well. And, as we were talking earlier, when you get into public safety or any form of it, it kind of gets into your blood right away and you keep going.
It's like being a farmer or a truck driver. It's a calling and it's an honor to be able to serve.
That is amazing. I love that. And you, sir, a little background on yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me be here.
Of course.
My background is primarily actually in the fire service. I've been in this role with the county for about 8 years now as Director of Emergency Services. And so that's emergency medical services, emergency management, and the county fire marshal's office. So I have 3 divisions in emergency services. But like I said, my primary background is in the fire service. I was in the fire service on the municipal side for about 21 years. I'm actually a third generation firefighter. My son is a fourth generation firefighter. So it's been in my blood my whole life. And that's kind of how I got into it.
Oh, wow.
Johnston County's home. Kinley went to high school here. Brett and I went to the same high school.
We did.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go North Johnston. Yeah. So, Johnston County's home. And like the sheriff said, the jail, the public safety center, it's a great representation of our board of commissioners, our county administration, of their dedication to public safety in Johnston County. And both of these buildings are state of the art, and we're blessed to have them. I'm blessed personally to know these guys as friends, co-workers. The sheriff said we're a team, and we are, but we're also great friends. And what we do goes well beyond what we do for a living.
Yes.
It goes well past that, and I'm blessed to have that, and we have a great relationship here in Johnston County. So,
These were the guys I was talking about earlier that, we make all this is possible because we work so well together.
Yeah.
I can call either one of these guys, the sheriff, Kevin, and I need this. I've asked the sheriff 100 times, hey, we were moving equipment out here. And one of the biggest fears we had was moving our Ethernet phone system because we were scared to move it because it's so important. So the sheriff said, well, what can I do to help? Kevin said, what can we do to help? I said, I tell you what, I'll get back with you. So me and my guys would come up with a little plan and said, Sheriff, can you escort us from the old building to the new building nonstop? Just, so we don't get held up in any traffic. We don't get hit broadside in the truck that's moving that piece of vital equipment. He never blinked. They were like, hey, how can I help? Next thing I know, we've got county cars escorting us all the way there. The intersections are blocked. You would have thought we were moving a nuclear warhead or the gold out of Fort Knox, but that's just
And I was getting the phone call, Sheriff, what in the world is going on? I said, we got a phone system that cannot be dead on arrival.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But anyhow, we made it work.
We did. And Kevin and his staff, hosting this class for 911, he was gracious enough to let us use, his EOC, but we don't look at it as his EOC or his sheriff's department or my 911 center. It's ours.
Yeah.
Because we all know the open invitation is always there.
We are the public service of the people.
Yes.
We understand our roles. It's not ours.
Nope.
Right.
And it belongs to the people, and we all love serving our citizens. And we all serve the same people in a different role than me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're serving the same folks.
I'll echo what Kevin said. I am very blessed to be able to work with these two gentlemen.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is how it's done. Okay. and I say that right away because I just, as I've said before, I've said it many times, just walking in here, you walk into a building and you immediately get a vibe, whether it's good or it's bad. And not so much bad or anything, but maybe more so kind of hollow, maybe a little more of like a loneliness type thing. But as soon as I walked in here, it was just, I'm getting kind of goosebumps talking about it because this is the type of stuff that I talk about where you want to build a culture, not just in the 911 center, but between all disciplines of public safety so that we can all learn from each other. Because otherwise, then you've got, let's just say, for example, you've got law enforcement who's, at the throats of dispatch or whatever because they don't understand, but dispatch also they might not understand them, but when you all come together and you're learning from each other, this is how you build a good culture.
And as sheriff, the deputies out here speaking back with the dispatcher via the radio system, we demand respect. The dispatchers talking with the deputies and vice versa. We're all on the same team here.
Right.
We got to respect each other. And at the end of the day, we want to go home as friends. We want to come back in the morning as friends and understanding our separate roles, but knowing that we got a duty to provide that public safety. But you're talking about camaraderie. The county manager in the county here, our finance director, the board of the commissioners, the county attorney.
Yes.
We all come together. And, we all know our roles, but we find a way to work together. As sheriff, I know sheriffs from all across the state, and sometimes I will hear a sheriff say, I don't talk to the county manager. I don't talk to the board of commissioners. I don't go to their meetings. And I say to them, when it gets to that point, I'm going home. But I'm just blessed, as we've used that word a few times here today, to have the camaraderie and to have the trust of these gentlemen that I get to work with, along with the board of commissioners, the county attorney, the finance director, the county manager. We're all in it for the people. We work for the people, and we know that, and we understand our role, and we want to give the people 100%. Look what they've given us. Yeah. Their tax money has built a state-of-the-art 911 center, sheriff's office, emergency operations center, a new jail, and the people deserve for us to manage their assets and to give them 120% every day. And I can assure you, if the public could really see behind the scenes and see what our dispatchers actually do, see what Brett does, see what we do as a team, whatever has got to be done, we're going to do it.
Oh man, I love that. And just again in this room as well. Thank you very much. Absolutely. Because as I was saying, there's a couple of pictures and stuff, but it doesn't do it any justice. I mean, the screens alone, when I was standing next to the really big screen, when I first started out, I told the class, I said, I'm just going to stand here and take this in for a moment, because I've never been in a room like this or a screen this big where I'm presenting. So give me just a moment. Okay, let's go.
And
then we jumped in.
That. Our IT team, our county IT folks have been here the whole time to make sure everything was good and you had everything you
needed. Here now.
They're here now. They're actually here now.
Yeah, nothing is left to question.
Director Jeff Howard, when we
and his staff, and they are a part of our team.
Absolutely. And when we did that wall, Jeff's thing was, man, we want that wow factor. We want that wow factor. And Brett told me yesterday when I came in here, that was one of the first things he said that you had mentioned was like, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you being here and taking time out of your schedule to recognize our folks here in Johnston County. And
as a matter of fact, I'd like to give you a free night into Johnston County Jail so you don't have to drive.
Oh, perfect.
You were going to get that offer today, didn't you?
I mean,
stay all weekend.
I get a free meal. I get free meals, right? And stuff. Three. I am all about it.
It is good.
If I don't come home, that's why I took the free room. Yeah, because it's a 9-hour drive. I drove here from Indiana.
I think we ought to vote on it right now.
I'm
what do you think? You in the jail, buddy.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. That is excellent. Well, as we go into the closing of this, it has been amazing to have all three of you on here and such, and to learn a little bit more background. And hold on one moment here. In the comments, someone says it looks like you have a great support system in Johnston County, Brett. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes,
we do. It's second to none. I'm sorry, it's just second to none. There's no competition. It's what does it take to what do we got to do to get it done?
Right.
What have we got to do to get to the best end result of whatever we're facing?
And at the end of the day, you look at this building. We have bragged on our building a little bit because it took a long time to get here. But it really, the building is just that. But when you walk in the 911 center and you look at the quality of the telecommunicators, you look at the dedication, the passion, the compassion, and what they do every day. They got a heart for people. They do a great job. And for Telecommunicators Week, I want to say, y'all are bad to the bone, so to speak. Our telecommunicators, the 911, I'm from the old school, our dispatcher.
Yeah.
This building is nothing without the quality of the employees that provide the telecommunicator service to our systems. And I mean, they do a great job, and it's a calling, but we got some good telecommunicators that work for both Brett and I, and we're blessed to be able to work with them on a daily basis. So I want to give a shout out to the telecommunicators at the Johnston County 911 Center, do an awesome job every day. They are the face of the county. They are the first responders. They are the people that the public calls and talks to. They are the first association with county government when people are in an emergency situation. So they do a great job. I just like to say, keep up the good work.
Perfect.
And I'd like to echo what the Sheriff said. Brett and his team, you talk about culture. They love what they do, and they're dedicated to the job they do. And, you know, in my previous role in the fire service, you know, when you're in a dark hallway or in a fire, you know, and you key that radio up, they're like our guardian angels. You know they're listening to you, they're paying attention to you, and they're going to help you any way they can. And Brett and his team are awesome, and can't say enough about them. How much we always, anytime I had the chance to say, remember, it always starts with 911. You know, it always starts on the phone, and couldn't do it without those folks.
Thank you both. Thank you both for being on and for that wrap up as well. That was perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right, we've got Pokey back, and we have
Herman Weiss.
That's right, Mr.
Yes.
Herman Weiss. Hello and welcome
Hello,
back,
sir.
sir.
Good to see you.
Yes, you as well. So it's good to have you both. This has been going well already. We've got a bunch of people in here watching, commenting, and it was awesome to hear how everyone is a team, not just here, but all of you in this state. So welcome, sir. And for everybody who's watching, a little background on yourself, please.
So my name is Herman Weiss. I am the 911 director for Chowan County. I am also the current North Carolina APCO chapter president. Been in public safety over 35 years as a firefighter, but doing telecommunications since 2010.
All right, excellent. So how did you get in public safety to begin with?
Just always had that hankering for fire. Always enjoyed it. Got into that when I was in high school and just haven't gotten out of it. And then started with a private ambulance service doing dispatching and absolutely fell in love with it. And can't see myself doing anything else.
Wow. I think that's one of the things that when you get into it, just happens to get into your blood right away. And what I want to do here really quick is I want to switch, just have it about right there. There we go. And it sounds like they're watching it out there, so they're able to hear it and stuff too. So
they're hanging on to every word now. They're really paying attention now.
Yes.
So, selfie thing.
Yes.
Do the selfie thing.
But that's a lot. A lot of people say the same thing, you know, when they jump into it, whether they're jumping in green or, you know, of course, they're, you know, a different generation of public safety. As soon as they get in there, it gets into their blood. So was there a moment, though, that you remember early on or whichever, where you just kind of felt like, you know what, I am in the place that I'm supposed to be?
So when I first started my career in dispatching, I mean, and working with a private ambulance service, I mean, it was just something that I felt like it was my niche. And then got into the 911 side and just absolutely fell in love with it. It was like, you know what, I'm home. This is where I'm meant to be. And as I said, I can't see myself doing anything different.
So one of the ladies that's coming up later, 2 years, she's beaming out there, just talking about what she's doing. So that's our next generation. So let's hope that they stay engaged. So I think that niche, I think that's what she's found.
So trying, as Pokey said, the younger generation, I mean, trying to teach the younger generation to fall in love with it. I mean, and helping them any way you can. I mean, that has just been one of my things is I'm there to help. You tell me how I can help you, and you tell me how I can make your career succeed, and that's what I'm going to do. And as Brett and them, all the others said, it's not about me, but it's about them. It's about the telecommunicators, how we can make their, as she said, glow and gleam and make them smile every day when they want to come into work.
Right. And also, you know, just being kind of a wealth of knowledge as well for a lot of the folks that are coming in, and to be able to share, you know, certain stories, experiences, and just how all of it works. And I shared a story early on where it had to do with the dot matrix printer and the teletype, and how people would look at it and they would say, what is this? And I said, it's a teletype. And like, what's a teletype? You know, and then, but also at the same time, because some of those newer folks that were coming in, they were so used to using CAD, which for those who are watching and listening that are from the general public, that is computer-aided dispatch. It's the software that we end up putting all the information in to be sent out to the officers that are going out and such.
Don't forget the mapping side of that too.
And there's the mapping side as well. Yes. And what they would say was, so our system's down. What do we do now? And I pull out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and I'd go, here. And they'd go, are you serious? And I'd say, yeah. I mean, how else are you going to do it? Because we don't have punch cards. And then that would throw them for a loop
and then
even
wants
more.
a punch card, right?
Yes.
Right. So we've got the history as well as we're in that technology age now.
Right.
You know, and coming into it, I saw the old time TTY where you actually put the handset in there.
Yes.
And then you typed out
Oh,
your
my
message.
word.
So yes,
Yes.
I've seen that.
Yes.
Never used it, but I've seen it.
Right. Yeah.
But-
So at my old center, we had one on either side, and it was the same way. It had, the phone that you put on there, and we would start typing stuff, and it was GA, like go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
And some of the other folks would say, "How often do you use this?" And I would say, I mean, not a lot.
Not enough to be
Yeah.
proficient.
Right. So they're telling me that we've got
Oh.
about a minute here. So
Yeah.
what I want to get from you, sir, is, we're doing this for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, but also, we celebrate not just for next week, but every single day. So just in your opinion, going into the wrap up of this portion here, how important is this?
So it's very important. I mean, that the telecommunicators get recognized. That's something that is dear to me, to get the telecommunicators classified. And as Pokey knows, and a lot of people know, that in the state of North Carolina, telecommunicator is not classified. And correct me if I'm wrong, Pokey, but on the national level, a telecommunicator is classified as a clerical worker.
That's right. From a federal standpoint.
From the
that
federal
class
standpoint, they are
yeah.
classified as clerical. And to me, we need to be clarified as first responders.
Right.
That's something that one of the congressmen came through our county during Thanksgiving and was handing out pies. And I pulled him aside and I said, look, I said, we've got to get classified. He was like, you're right on, you're right on. So he left the building and he called me back later that night and he said, you know what, I'm going to get on that bill. I'm going to co-sponsor that bill. And I said, good.
Amazing.
And I said, it's not just what I did, but it's what all the other telecommunicators need in the state of North Carolina. So yes, next week is all about the telecommunicators. So that is very important that they are recognized every day.
Perfect. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all. I think we've got another wonderful group coming.
Yes, so they're
we've
gonna
got a room
be
full of
jumping
folks
in.
out
Yes,
here.
yes, they're gonna be jumping in.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me, sir.
Yes, of course.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. We're currently live right now. We've been live all this time and everything, and we're just going to get some information from you. So, starting with you, your name and your title, and we'll go along, and we'll talk here.
Let me use your microphone.
Oh
Because
yeah,
that
you know what?
might-
We
that
can.
might be-
Yeah, we can.
There you
We
go.
can do it this way. There we go.
Okay, my name is Beverly Herring, and I am the 911 supervisor, also public outreach for Johnston County. And I've been with Johnston County for almost 30 years now.
Amazing. Awesome.
I'm Morgan Harris. Been with Johnston County for about 17 years, and I'm the operations manager. So,
All right. Excellent.
Zach Alexander, been with Johnston County for about 14, 15 years. I'm the 911 support services manager.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us here, and I'm excited to have you here. Learn a little bit more about you as we're going through this. It's funny because we're doing this almost like rapid fire as I'm going through this as well, just to make sure.
lots of interest in today.
Yes,
Yeah.
making sure I've got everybody going on time and everything. So, how did you get into public safety to begin with?
As growing up, I always was interested in public safety. When the fire trucks went out, when the ambulance went out, I was like, where are they going? And then my dad actually bought me a scanner whenever I was like 16 years old. And then I got to know some of the people in the fire department. And then I went to school with a previous employee here in Johnston County, and he kind of got me going, get me interested in it. And I came up here one weekend and to see that person, and I was just amazed at everything that went on. This was 30 years ago. And it just kind of just progressed from there. I started hanging around, I guess. Back then you could hang around, and it was kind of like more of a, I don't say a hangout, but people, you could hang around some, not have to be employed. And so I hung around and I learned everything. And whenever I actually got put on part-time, I was already trained with everything. So I was in college, and I stayed part-time, And the week before I graduated, the 911 director at that time, he said, "What are you going to do when you graduate?" I said, "I got to find a real job." And he said, "I have one for you." And I told him, I said, "I can't work at 911 because back then it was a really fun job. And I didn't think of it as a real job.
Yeah.
But how well I know different now. But I told him I couldn't work at 911. My dad had sent me to college, and I have a 4-year degree, and I got to get a real job. And I do have a real job.
Right. Yes.
So I'm so glad that I stuck with it. And but that's how I actually really got started, and it's been wonderful.
And you're here. That is excellent. You stuck with it and everything. How did you? Let me ask you this question really quick before we go on with the same questions as well. What did it feel like when you finally got in there? Because as you said, you basically knew the job already, right? You know, you were trained and everything, but now it's your turn and you're getting in there. Did you feel nervous at all going in, or were you just like ready to go?
When I first started and I was part-time, I was with the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
And with the sheriff's department, it was a little different because 911 and the sheriff's office in Johnston County is separate. But the sheriff's office, you only had 4 deputies working at the time. And I don't even know how many we have now working at the time, probably 12. But there was only 4 deputies, and you knew each person. And it was something personable to each of your officers. And so whenever I graduated from college, I switched over to 911, and I didn't know anybody. So it was a different group of people. I wanted to stick with the people that I knew.
Yeah.
And then when I went to 911, it was a different group of people, but they also became family. And once I was in there, the firemen and the EMS people, they all also became family. So it was a little different in the transition, but a very good transition.
That's amazing. And how about you? How did you get into public safety or 911 to begin with?
I did not hang around 911 or anything. I didn't have any background in it really. I'm from the western part of the state, and I used to work in restaurants and hotels, and so I managed a hotel before I moved down here. And my brother, he was the fire chief in Smithfield, and he got me started in it. He said, "Hey, you might want to look at this. It's a pretty good career." He wanted me to have something that was always going to be there. I had watched him growing up go through, working at factories and getting laid off and things like that. He said, "This is a job that will always be there." He said,
Right.
"No matter what, every month you're going to get paid like clockwork." And I said, "That sounds great to me." I said, "Well," and I had been through changes with restaurants, and it's all, very wishy-washy, and, people hands change with the business owners and things like that. And it's never a good time. So, but anyways, I got started, they gave me a chance, and been here ever since. And Zach and I actually started on the same day. We started at the same time, and we've both moved up through the ranks. He left me for a little while, and then he came back. But,
How dare you?
Yeah, I know, right? But we've both finally moved off the floor and stuff, and we're in management roles now, and it's great. I've enjoyed my time here. It's funny how life turns out. You never think, when you're 17, 18 years old, 20 years old, you don't really know what you're going to do. And,
Right.
And it's funny, I always joke, I say, 10 years ago, I said, if you told me I was going to be working for 911 and working with the police, I would have laughed at you and said, "No, you're crazy."
Yeah.
But here I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, Zach, before I get to you here, I want to ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
Because of your prior experience, do you feel like in any aspect it kind of prepared you? For what you ended up doing in 911 with some of the folks, like the interaction?
And so anybody that's out there that's, listening and watching that, doesn't know anything about 911 and worked in any type of, food service or hospitality industry, it helps a lot because our job is customer service at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The people that are calling in, yes, they have emergencies, but they're still a customer. And not every call that you're going to get is an emergency. I mean, as long as you're nice to the people when they call in there, you're going to be successful in this job. As long as you're, like the sheriff said, you got to be compassionate. You got to care about, the people that are on the other end of the phone. So
Exactly. You have to be human.
Yeah, you have to be human
You have to be
and
human.
actually care. And that goes a long way. We've hired several folks that had similar backgrounds as me, and they've been rock stars. We just hired a girl she worked at a local restaurant here, and we gave her a chance, and she's doing great now. I mean, you know, it's just good to see those kind of transitions happen. So
Amazing. And then Zach, how did you get into public safety? We're wrapping up with your piece here on how you got into public safety.
So my dad was a Raleigh police officer for 30 years, retired from there.
Thank you.
When I was younger, and he was a sergeant, so every time they had, you know, a hurricane or anything, he always got stuck in the OC, which at the time was co-located with Raleigh Wake 911. And so I've got to see that side of thing very, very early on. And then when I graduated, kind of like Beverly, you know, trying to find that job, my dad was the one that found that Johnston County was hired and recommended look into it, and been here ever since, other than the 3-4 years that I left Morgan to go work for EMS with the county. But ultimately I wound up back here.
Amazing.
This is where he wants to be.
Yeah. Hated I left, but glad I came back.
That is awesome. Thank you, the three of you, for being here. And as they're bringing someone, I think they're going to bring another one here.
My name is Caroline. I'm a telecommunicator with Harnett County Sheriff's Office.
And my name is Sierra. I'm also with the Harnett County Sheriff's Office as a telecommunicator.
All right, excellent.
My name is Ashley. I'm a telecommunicator at the Harnett County Sheriff's Office as well as a trainer.
I'm Deanna from the Harnett County Sheriff's Office, and I'm also a trainer.
All right, excellent. I like how you're slightly like you're trying to hide, but in the I was going to say in the camera we can see you.
Travis, the communications manager for the Harnett County Sheriff's Office.
Travis, yes, I was going to say I'm pretty sure we've been to conferences and I know you. So welcome. It is awesome to have you here, and you know, I've been out here all week and in the state, doing a lot of different things, recording episodes as well as teaching. And I hope for you that were in the class yesterday that you had fun, that you learned a lot of different things. And, you know, there was a lot of powerful stuff going on. And I guess what I want to get from all of you is, you know, it's a week next week, right, that we're celebrating. But you know, a lot of us, we celebrate each other every single day, or at least try to, because we are a family. So what does this mean to you? Like each one of you, let's just go down the line and we'll start here with you.
I mean, I think every day we try to, like, we build each other up every day. And I think especially what you do with the IM 911, it's just very crucial to not only like our mental health, but being able to share our stories, our experiences with those who understand. It makes a difference.
Awesome. Thank you.
And kind of building off what she said, we love each other every day, even though it's once a year for a week's time that we are able to, you know, kind of sort of recognize not only our girls that are in the center and guys that are in the center, but we can recognize throughout the 911 community, not only nationally through the United States, but also internationally. It's really cool, and being able to have a platform like you do to, you know, kind of sort of recognize and be like, look, we know your struggles, but we also know your battles, but your wins.
Right.
And so that's something that is really awesome to be able to share and experience with other telecommunicators, and especially whenever it's down to a single week where you're like, yes, we are 911, but we are all 911 in a whole. And that's what is really cool.
Awesome.
But even more, I think it's the fact that it adds humanity back to it. So many people just assume that we can be heartless. And I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it sounds like we are, but people tend to forget that we go through those things too.
Right.
And it's like you had said yesterday, painting that mental image is sometimes worse than actually seeing it. And so the fact that you have men and women day in and day out that are living through that stuff and then making themselves available for the next person that calls, it plays on the phrase of your worst day is my every day.
Right. Yes.
And so the fact that there is the recognition and that it's building and that people are starting to see, wow, they do so much, means a lot to all of us. Like, I'm not just speaking for myself when I say that. Right. It's fantastic. But even more, none of us do this for the recognition. We all do it because it's a calling and we love it. So,
and
building off of it, which I was not here.
A little bit.
I want to get Travis in here. He's probably like, no.
And I was not here yesterday, but they said that it was absolutely amazing, and I missed it. But like they said, like, we are a family, and the 1 week a year where basically the public, like, oh, it's TC week, like, what is that? So, but we're actually trying to do a community outreach. So yes, I have sent flyers, and we've visited a few schools and some career, what are they called? The
career day,
the career days at
elementary
high
schools,
and
high
stuff. So
schools.
just trying to get out in our community, like, we're people.
Right.
Like,
yes.
yes. And, we do have feelings too. And like she said, sometimes we can sound heartless, but I mean, we all love what we do. We basically take care of each other because we spend more time with I spend more time with these people than I do with my own family.
So we work to pay for our homes that we get to visit.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's just like one big, most of the time, happy family, because we do argue. Not gonna lie.
Like siblings, like
siblings. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Or that old married couple that you see sitting on the floor.
Yes.
Oh, that is great.
I was actually, was it you that said when me and Bree were arguing?
Yes.
Like,
Mom and Dad are fighting.
That was a long time ago. Though.
That is awesome.
It's fantastic.
Still best friends till this day.
Yes.
But
what about you, Travis?
So from a manager standpoint, we realize that they do not get the recognition from anybody really that they deserve, right? So Telecommunicator Week for us allows our partner agencies to recognize them for what they do, providing food, snacks, or even just several come by to just visit. People from the fire departments, EMS. So it allows them the opportunity to say, thank you for what you do for us, because the other 51 weeks out of the year, they don't normally get that. So for me, that's very important for them.
Do you do any themes?
Yeah. So the one that I'm most excited about this year is 10 code day.
Yes.
Dress like a 10 code. Just like a 10 code.
Just like a 10 code.
I have my
So
she I also have mine. It's a surprise.
Just to see what's gonna how they're gonna show up.
Yes.
So for those who are watching and listening who might not know a lot of the 10 codes, because there's a lot of people in the general public who are probably watching right now as well.
Yeah.
Give us an example of a 10 code that someone could potentially use.
That would give
away their ideas now.
We can give ideas, Roberto.
I'll tell my idea.
I was about to say one of them is like a 1072 for us is like an arrestee or a prisoner or something like that. So you can dress up in like prisoner garbs and stuff like that. Yep. So that's just one of them.
Oh, that is definitely thinking outside of the box.
Very much so.
Like for us, we would have themes, but it would be like, movies or decades or.
Well, we did that
We're
last
doing that
year, I
too.
think, but we're doing sports this year.
And dress like the year you were born.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my.
See, I love that. That is pretty awesome. And, and those who are watching and everything right now. Oh, wait, Randy over here says 10-9. And another
That's
person
mine.
says,
You can't have it.
Another person says, dress like a 10 code. Love it.
Yes.
Heck yeah, man.
Yes.
I love that as well. I wish I could go back in time and just tell myself that. Yeah.
You can totally come join us. It's fun.
Yes.
Dude, I am all about it.
Heck
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Monday.
Yes, Monday.
We'll come
10
pick you up from
codes,
the
yeah.
airport.
That's right. Yes. Reschedule your flight. It's fine.
Well, actually, I drove here, so I'm in my own car. So I can
You said you're driving today.
Yeah, that is really cool, and also to be able to dress like the year you were born. So I was born in '81, so I can just imagine.
Oh, see, I don't feel that bad now. I was born in '82.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yes, you can just dress in some neon colors and just look radical.
Make my hair a little bit bigger.
Right.
There you go.
Blow it out pretty good. Blow it out.
So what are some of the other things during the week that you guys end up doing? Because there's this decades, there's the awesome 10 code and everything. Do you have
like other disciplines of public safety come in and just have dinners, or do they drop you off a lot of food to where a lot of you are maybe looking at it and thinking, I gotta have a suite or something. Like, why did you bring so much?
At
The park
Raven Rock,
rangers
you bring in a laundry basket of just snacks,
Snacks, monsters,
energy drinks,
yes,
popcorn, cakes.
We
you
love
name
our
it.
Raven Rock
Oh, we
guys
love our
and
Raven Rock
girls.
guys. And then one of the fire departments is normally Spout Springs that brings the edible arrangement.
Yes.
Yeah.
We get a whole edible arrangement. It's great.
It is
And
fantastic.
What's the grandma or the aunt that always
Granny C.
Granny
Yes,
C.
Granny C.
Yes. She,
So we actually have a sign up Genius now that they can go
Oh,
in
yeah, I've
and,
heard
and pick a day that they want to sponsor.
Mhm.
That way we don't have everybody on one day.
Yes.
Kind of spread it
Oh,
out.
that's good.
Yeah.
Because then you end up having everything there and stuff starts to go bad.
Yes.
Should I eat this? Should I take a chance?
Mhm. We all gain like 10 pounds by the end of
By
the
the
2
end.
weeks.
And we are very fortunate to have a great
Very much
community,
so.
first responder community, that fire departments, EMS,
Yes.
all them that come and just celebrate us.
Yes.
And it's really good. It's
It is.
really interesting and fun to meet all of them because we don't always get to meet them.
Yep.
Very true.
So it's fun for them to come in, meet us meet them, and kind of sort of socialize for the little bit of time that we do get to see them in there and we're not busy.
And start putting faces to names and
Yes, and voices.
Yeah.
It allows them that personal
Yep.
face-to-face interaction versus just a voice that they talk on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. Because I remember towards it might have been 2 or 3 years when I was still dispatching before I left. There was an officer who walked up because I had filled out some paperwork for him, and he walks up and I look up and I look at him and I saw his badge and I went, dude. And he goes, right? I said, I know your voice, man. I said, but we've never met in all of these years that I've been here. And he goes, I have a long way to go to the city. He goes, but I for some reason, I decided to come and here you are. You're the one who was doing this. I was like,
It's
bro, yeah. Like, chariots of fire running towards you. But it happens that way.
Yeah.
That way, right? Where, you've got people that you talk to, them by a voice. And not to get a little deep here for a moment, but like when you're on the radios, and I know you probably do this a lot the way we did at my dispatch center as well. If something happens, you're listening to voices to narrow down who is the one. And I've told people that before, and they're like, I don't understand why you do that or how significant it is. Like, you have no idea how significant that is because you're at the edge of your seat, wondering, thinking, and you identify those voices.
Yes. And the tone of their voice.
And the
Yes.
yes.
Right.
Because you can say, oh, this is his everyday, like he's aggravated, or oh, we need to get help to him.
Yeah.
He is
Something
extra
is-
clipped today.
Yeah,
Yes.
something's
Like,
going on.
he needs help. We need to get him somebody just by his tone of voice. And, you can just tell the severity of the situation by
Right.
that.
So as we go into the wrap up of this, because we've got about a minute before we go on this first break, what, I guess, how does it feel to all of you to have these moments of recognition, not just this week, but especially next week during the actual week, and then every single day going on? How does that feel to have that recognition from those who are finally starting to understand and know what it is that you do?
Humbling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we don't do it for the recognition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
it is humbling.
Yeah.
It's,
And then when you do get recognized like by the community, and then some of us end up on the news and
Yes.
all this, I'm like,
It's like, I don't know. Thank you.
I'm like, okay.
Can I go back to my
Yeah,
corner
can I
now?
go back to work now? So, yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Thanks. Bye.
And like Deanna was saying earlier, how we do our community, we've started getting more out into the community, and it's nice to be. I know they had a Coates night out for our Coates Police Department,
Oh, yes.
and it was so heartfelt from the community coming. I was like, oh, thank you for what you do. Like we didn't know who you were.
Yep.
We knew your voice. Like if we have to call, we know your voice, but we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And
And they don't
was-
exactly know all that we do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like we don't just answer the phones.
Mhm.
Like
don't just answer the phone.
Yes.
It's very popular belief.
Yes.
Yes. And it just felt so good to be there, and the little kids coming up and being like, what do you do? And we have a whole setup for them and coloring books and everything, and it's like maybe that's the next generation that
Yeah.
saw us.
And I had actually visited Bullish Creek Elementary. Shout out to you guys. They were great. Visited a bunch of fifth graders, and they were absolutely amazing. Asked all kinds of questions, and it was just teaching them about what we do. Like it was great. Like, and I look forward to visiting other schools.
Even on the high school level. So we would, a couple of us had gone out to Harnett Central High School and spoken with a lot of the juniors and seniors that were getting ready to graduate, because we just recently lowered our hiring age to 18. And the amount of people that were just kind of like, wow, was fantastic. And just being able to talk to them about it and being like, so this is what we do. This is what it looks like. This is what we see when you call 911, and then just what? It's fantastic.
Because at that
Absolutely
age,
fantastic.
I didn't know anything about this job at that age
Right.
at all.
I think
But-
that a lot of times that you look online for a job posting and you see telecommunicator and you're like, oh, that sounds cool just reading the job description, but I have no idea what all that actually entails.
Yes. Right, exactly.
This allowing them to go and visit and do this community outreach really is eye-opening to a lot of people.
It is very much
Amazing.
so.
Well, thank you very, very much. I will say this really quick. Angie with the 911 or North Carolina 911 board, she says, love the public outreach that Harnett County is doing. So kudos to all of you, and happy National Telecommunicators Week for
Thank
next
you.
week, and for what you do every single day. And that's a wrap.
And there you have it. That was all the episodes from the live broadcast that we did out there in Johnston County. That was about a week ago, and an excellent time with them. And the shout out goes to everyone who participated there in Johnston County 911, but as well as the North Carolina 911 board. And from what it sounds like, from what you heard in this episode, it's a big possibility that I'm going to be going back out to North Carolina to teach and record more episodes, and I'm very excited to do it. Once again, just shout out to them and to the North Carolina 911 board for partnering with myself as Within the Trenches podcast to be able to go out there, teach, and record episodes. So if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow us all over social media. The easiest way to do this is to simply go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 I's.co/WTT podcast. And you'll find everything there. You'll find my email, all of my social media, where to follow, the latest episode. You can purchase Imagine Listening, the book, pre-order book number 2 that comes out August 4th of 2024. And you can also become a supporter on there, whether it be on Facebook or Patreon. And if you're looking for any podcast or dispatch merchandise, it's the very last button down at the bottom on that bio page. And once again, that is links with 2 I's.co/WTT podcast. This episode has been sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services. And you can hear this episode 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.
You just listened to a Code 7 Network podcast. If you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, send an email to wttpodcast@gmail.com.